Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and a very warm welcome to BTV World News. I'm Shahzad Qayyum with the top stories of this hour. Prime Minister Imran Khan holds a meeting with Governor Punjab Chaudhry Mohammad Sarwar and Chief Minister Punjab Sardar Usman Buzdar in Islamabad discusses matters related to political situation in the country. President Dr. Arif Alvi chairing a meeting of Smart Cities project emphasizes on transforming the existing cities into smart cities to improve governance. British High Commissioner Christian Turner calls on Army Chief General Qamar Javed Bajwa matters of mutual interest and overall regional security situation, including Afghan peace process, discussed during the meeting. The Supreme Court announces that the Senate elections will be held as per the Constitution, says Election Commission should use the latest technology to ensure fair and transparent elections. Information Minister Shibli Farrukh says Supreme Court's judgment in presidential reference is historic, under which the Senate elections will be held as per Article 226 of the Constitution. Ambassador of Egypt to Pakistan, Dr. Tariq Tahrouk, meets Interior Minister Sheikh Rashid Ahmed in Islamabad. Matters of bilateral interest discussed during meeting. Iran rules holding an informal meeting with the United States and European powers on ways to revive a nuclear deal, insisting that America must lift all of its unilateral sanctions first. Tonight's Pakistan Super League match between Islamabad United and Quetta Gladiators postponed after Fawad Ahmed from Islamabad United tested positive for COVID-19. The match will now be played tomorrow at 7 p.m. PTV Sports will telecast the match live. Well, that's all for the moment. For more details and live streaming, log on to our website world.ptv.com.pk. You can find us on Facebook page with the name of PTV World and follow us on Twitter at WorldPTV. Thanks a lot for watching, and coming up next is Politics Today with farrukh Pitafi. Stay tuned to watch.
Sarangi is a bowed, short-necked string instrument from subcontinent, which is used in Pakistani classical music. Its flexible tunability and its ability to produce a large play of tonal color and emotional nuance makes it unique. Carved from a single block of wood, the sarangi has a box-like shape with three hollow chambers called stomach, chest and brain. It's usually around 2 feet long and around 6 inches wide. It has 3 melody strings in 11 to 37 sympathetically vibrating metal strings.
Hello and welcome to Politics. Today I am Farrukh Pitafi. We have been talking about this reference, the presidential reference regarding the Senate elections for quite some time. And now finally we have seen that Honorable Supreme Court of Pakistan has given its decision. One, it is quite clear that the elections have to be held under Article 226. That means that secret ballot is important. It is a must. But on the other side, citing the cases of 2012 and 1967. In 1967, Pakistan didn't have the 73 constitution. The Federation of Pakistan existed in a very different shape. But still, the Honorable Court has cited the case of 1967 as well. We are going to talk about this also. And in that, these references, the Honorable Court has just pointed out that secrecy of the ballot is not final, not absolute, that it doesn't go to extend to the judgment day. So what exactly can happen? The Honorable Court has recommended certain aspects to the Election Commission of Pakistan. The first thing that stands out is the use of technology. And it can use technology to ensure whether the election will be fair and free. So we are going to talk about that as well, but there is another debate that has just started, and that is about this question whether this interpretation or this help from the Honorable Supreme Court of Pakistan is binding or not. Now, amazingly, whether it is binding or not, the answer lies in the fact that Election Commission of Pakistan is meeting as we speak, and they seem to be devising some kind of mechanism. In the program, we are going to ask what those mechanisms might be, and the concerns were MNAs and MPAs sell their vote, and then they go and vote against the party lines. So we are going to talk about all these matters. We have to understand what exactly is going to happen in 2 days. Day after tomorrow is the election day. So we are going to talk about all these matters. In order to help us understand these issues, in the studio I am joined by Mohammad Ibrahim Khan Sahab, who is an MNA of the ruling party Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. Next to him is Amir Hussain Sahab. Is quite regular and analyst on this program, but is appearing after some time. Thank you very much, Amir Sahab, for being part of the program. Arif Chaudhary Sahab joins us on Skype. He's a leading lawyer in the country and expert on constitutional matters as well. And in addition to him, Barrister Hasnan Ali Mirza Sahab, who is leader of GDA, parliamentary leader of GDA in Sindh Assembly. He also joins us. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. First of all, let me start with you, Arif Chaudhary Sahab. Do you think, because this has been repeated ad nauseum on television, do you think that this interpretation of the Constitution is binding on the Election Commission or not?
Thank you very much, Pitafi Sahab. As far as Supreme Court is concerned,
Sir,
if the government...
unmute your phone, your camera.
Unmute.
Okay.
Hello.
Let me first...
Yeah.
Yes, sir, please go ahead.
Yeah. The government seeks advice from the Supreme Court and under Article 156. As far as this Election Commission is concerned, it's also a body under the Constitution. So everybody is, the opinion of Supreme Court is binding for everybody, every institution, irrespective of its place wherever this institution exists. So as far as conduct of election is concerned, that is basically the duty and obligation of Election Commission, and Article 218, sub-article 3, ordains, binds Election Commission to conduct elections and make sure that, the elections are conducted in a transparent, fair and just manner, where, and then it is...
As I come back to you, Arif Chaudhary Sahab, I am going to ask you about the conduct of business. How exactly can it be made transparent? Let me come back to the studio first. Ibrahim Khan Sahab, today the government is celebrating and the opposition is also celebrating. It seems that if your purpose was to highlight that the opposition wants to steal the election, you might have scored that point through optics. But when it comes to your basic prayer, it doesn't seem to have been addressed.
Our whole purpose, I think, of going through this whole process was to basically ensure a transparent election.
You're right.
And I think to a certain extent we have achieved that objective. And
How?
I'll come to that later. I just quote you an example of the elections in Punjab. It was free and fair, and everybody accepted their positions according to their numbers.
Okay, you are talking about Senate elections, right?
Senate elections.
Yeah, because immediately I thought of Deska.
No. I am talking about the Senate elections.
Okay.
I think that has set a very fine precedent for rest of the provinces,
Yeah,
and including the...
and that was a great thing that happened in this program. We have been arguing that as well.
Sure.
But your party is not taking credit for it. They're not admitting there was any back channel. They're not admitting that anybody else actually played a role. Even though PMLQ is signaling to the reporters that it played a role in ensuring that there is a seat adjustment of kind. Nobody actually has opponents from the other party claiming for it. But regardless of that, today, how do you think your concern has been addressed?
I think the Supreme Court has said that Election Commission of Pakistan should ensure transparency.
Okay.
Okay. And if some citizen or a member or MP or MN or anybody who comes up with a certain complaint about a certain person, if he is, has any suspicion or has some solid grounds to prove that a certain person has taken some, or voted against the party discipline, then he can submit a complaint to the ECP.
Okay.
And Election Commission of Pakistan is supposed to address that.
Yeah, but I don't see that in the statement or interpretation today. Modalities have not been defined. The Honorable Supreme Court has only nudged the Election Commission that it can use high technology, perhaps barcode, perhaps serial numbers on the paper, even perhaps the camera, but for you it will remain secret, right? For the political parties, it will always remain secret.
Fine, one way or the other, the purpose is to ensure free and fair elections.
And last time you actually told me that money is being used in Dubai, perhaps to buy elections because of the loopholes that you have fixed. How are you going to take care of that? I mean, if I've sold my vote, I've sold my vote.
That's true, but in the past, this was the common practice which took place in foreign countries. That's why we are trying to ensure here that if the Election Commission of Pakistan can monitor, and the way you already mentioned is through certain their code system or whatever.
And we are going to talk about that later in the program, because the report has it that the ballot papers have been patented and distributed. I don't know how you are going to actually work around that problem. Let me ask you, Amir Hussain sir, your take on this concern. Who actually won today?
Well, I think it was the Supreme Court has its own remit, and it has taken a very good decision in line with the Constitution of the country,
Okay.
which clearly says that Supreme Court can interpret a particular ambiguity, if there is an ambiguity, and the President of Pakistan submitted a reference under the article number 186 of the Constitution, which was his prerogative, but the Supreme Court could interpret, and it did in line with the Constitution.
Right.
I think that is the supremacy of Constitution which has been ensured.
What will you say to the fact that the Honorable President of Pakistan's prayer or reference was about only one interpretation, whether it lies under Article 226 or whether it lies under election law, election amendment law of 2017, right? And that issue was the entirety of prayer. And the Honorable Supreme Court of Pakistan seems to have actually gone a step further.
Absolutely.
And delivered something that was not even asked.
Absolutely. But, you know, under the...
What do you think of that?
This is, I think, this is extraordinary because, you know, the court has taken its course. But the Supreme, under the Constitution even, Article 21A, there is a provision that the Election Commission has its own interpretation of transparency and accountability.
Right.
It can use technology, it can ensure different ways, but the fact remains that the interpretation of the Supreme Court was in line with the Constitution of the country, and the reference of the President was also in line with the Constitution. So there's no clash in that. But the question now is, the real question that arises from all this episode is that you know, we have a very good you know, effective and a balancing act coming from the Supreme Court, and it has created some sense that the Parliament...
Why are you calling it a balancing act?
Because it is...
Honorable Supreme Court is not bound to give you a balancing act.
Absolutely.
It gave you interpretation, and that's it.
Because we have a history, we have a checkered political history, we can always see that something happens, but this time I think it is completely objective, and I think the objective decision was taken, and Supreme Court was in line with the Constitution, but also...
Right. So you agree with the judgment, and now you're looking at how elections are conducted. Let me bring in Barrister Hassan Ali Mirza Sahab, who joins us now through telephone. Barrister Sahab, you are wearing two hats. One is of GDA, you are government ally. The second thing that is important is you also are a barrister. So you are an expert on law as well. How do you interpret this? What do you think is going to happen in coming days, in 2 days actually, when the elections take place?
Thank you, Farrukh. And first of all, my apologies. I've not been able to follow your other guests' arguments due to the technical issues. I was not able to hear. As far as the constitutional interpretation is concerned, I believe both sides are celebrating today, which is a little premature until the short order is not there and the detailed judgment is not there for us to see, firstly, what the reasoning of the honorable judges of the Supreme Court is behind their conclusions, especially when there is a split decision. It's 4-1 from what the media has reported. So both the opinions must be duly considered before we can actually see how the Honorable Supreme Court has interpreted the constitutional clauses that were under discussion today.
Just to highlight one point, you said that the short order hasn't arrived. Actually, it is available on the Supreme Court's website now. And in it is very clear. The arguments are what we have been discussing so far. But there is a dissenting note, and in which it is said that it doesn't fall under the purview of Article 186. And it is not a matter of law that falls under Article 186.
What seemed to be a question of born out of the need of electoral reform seems to have evolved into a question of jurisdictional remit. what is the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court and what is the jurisdiction of the Parliament. And on that account, I'm glad to say that the Supreme Court has taken a very honorable position on that and has limited its own right to constitutional interpretation and has rightly left that domain to Parliament. Now, it remains to the political parties that are present in the Parliament to replicate the same level of political maturity and bring forth the requisite constitutional amendments to ensure greater transparency and the elimination of corrupt practices as is required under Article 2183, sub 3, where the Constitution enforces a duty upon the Election Commission, not only to maintain the elections as just and fair, but to eliminate corrupt practices. This is going significantly further to now arm the Election Commission with the requisite mechanism to
it seems
ensure
that
its
Barrister
constitutional
Saab
duty.
cannot hear me. My
Again,
question now is about the political hat, your political hat. You are representing GDA. And the word has it that there is some kind of pressure on the lawmakers in Sindh Assembly that they should be voting for People's Party. Is that true?
You see, the tactics that Pakistan People's Party has been using are not hidden from anybody. And unfortunately, where the focus of the media as well as political commentators has gravitated towards Islamabad, it seems to be that Sindh has been left to be ruled by the law of the jungle. You must have seen a press conference has taken place just a few hours ago where the PTI leadership, local leadership, is claiming that 3 of their MPs have been kidnapped on the eve of the election. Now, this is a very, very serious accusation. I would like my colleagues to exercise every legal avenue that they have and ensure not only the sanctity of the ballot, but now we're talking about the safety and security of the individuals who are supposed to cast their vote. And unfortunately, Sindh has evolved to this level over a period of time. We've seen that time and time again where People's Party has blurred its legal limits and has willy-nilly transgressed between what is right, what is wrong, what is lawful, what is illegal,
right,
and have gotten away with it from
whose,
time and time
whose
again.
responsibility it is to ensure that people are not kidnapped in Sindh?
You see, you have to revert to the Election Commission, the recent precedent it has set in Tuska. What was the allegation? What was the failure has been established to be on account of the provincial government of Punjab for failing to provide the relevant safety, security and resources to those returning officers or the polling officers.
The Election Commission.
Now, if the same situation over here, you see the resources are the state. The government is a separate entity from any individual political party that may be in power at that day and time. So why is it that we see the Sindh police acting not as an arm of the state, but as a personalized or privatized militant force only to serve one political party's ends? And similarly, the administration behaves as if they are in the employee of a private political entity and not the employee of the state.
This is my next question was, which I asked, whether you have approached the Election Commission of Pakistan or not. But I will come back to you, sir. Do stay with us. Let me bring in Arif Chaudhry Saab. We started with him, but there was some technical problems, so I had to move away from him. Now, let me go back to Arif Chaudhry Saab and ask him in detail what is going to happen now, because you are the resident expert in this program. You are going to help us understand how, if it is binding, how exactly is the Election Commission likely to address the matter?
Yeah, this Election Commission is fully aware of the court and the questions which were asked from Election Commission relating to conducting fair, free and transparent elections and eradicate and eliminate all kinds of corruption and corrupt practices. They didn't come up with any solution. That's why there were so many harsh remarks which came from the bench also, towards the slackness or, slippish way and the way, election commission was conducting itself, and they expected more. So now it is time, very high time for election commission to come up the writ of the Supreme Court. The order, it's not in a way the order as it should be, like, an order, if it is not implemented, then consequences are criminal prosecution or contempt of court. But it is binding, as for everyone, and now it is the interpretation of Constitution, the way election commission should conduct the election. So they have given a way out to election commission because they don't have any strategy, and the Honorable Supreme Court has provided them a modus operandi and a way to conduct fair elections. And for that, I think they should evolve, use technology, and by using technology, it's very simple that the vote ballot paper should be identifiable, because otherwise you cannot eliminate corruption. And it is not every day, anybody who can, Tom, Dick and Harry, who could simply say that, the election, such and such MPA has not voted, or MNA has not voted according to the party line. It is the party head or the party concerned who is a aggrieved person. And the party...
Arif Chaudhary Sahab, that seems to address the matter of defection. It doesn't seem to actually address the matter of corruption. What if I've taken money from somewhere else and I still vote for my party? And B, what if I actually don't receive any money from anywhere and I decide to defect?
No, defection,
Election are different things, right?
If somebody doesn't vote for it according to the party line, in order to prove that such and such guy had received money in order to give his vote against the party line, they have to bring evidence, and for evidence such as, the evidence was produced and came up on media, but no action has been taken because it is not still identifiable, and, any explanation could be given by them that, yes, we were sitting over there and, we had another transaction, money transaction for which we were receiving the money. But in this particular case, when the ballot paper is identifiable, you can pinpoint and go to the election commission, and the election commission, who is the custodian of those ballot papers, you point out that such and such guy, his ballot paper should be seen, and if it is found that he is receiving money from somebody in whose favor he gave the vote, then naturally the consequences are criminal.
In short, we are at this moment still focusing on defection clause, Article 67. We are not actually looking at the matter of corruption. So your point that you think, sir, Ibrahim Khan Sahab, that you have made, doesn't seem to be have been made.
No, I think my concern was to have free and fair elections.
Right.
Now that is secondary. If somebody has taken money or not is a separate issue.
But you were talking about corruption, right? Electoral fraud, use of money. Is it not true?
No, this is what they were claiming, because we have a clear majority of 16 to 18 members in the parliament. And
what happens if you are not treating your parliamentarians well, and they decide that you are going to punish them? And there is an article that, of course, talks about, defection, but Senate elections don't actually fall under the purview of that law.
Okay, fine, but according to my personal interaction with the rest of my colleagues,
right,
I haven't seen even a single person who has expressed his feelings in a way that he will
then you
be
haven't been
defecting.
watching. Then you haven't been watching television. because many of those lawmakers actually came to television, actually addressed this matter. But allow me to actually take a little diversion. I'm told that Kawat Dilshad Saab, former Secretary Election Commission, joins us on telephone. Kawat Saab, thank you very much for being part of the program. Let me ask you a very simple question. At this moment, I understand that the Election Commission of Pakistan is meeting, but what are the scientific methods that can be used to ensure that the elections are transparent? Okay, we'll have to connect with him again. I think he's at this moment in Urdu talking about his dinner.
Right.
Sir, please go ahead. Resume your point.
So the whole purpose of this election is to ensure transparency, and in order to achieve that, it is a complete and responsibility of the Election Commission of Pakistan to ensure now they go by the digit codes or whichever way they want to define it, but they should ensure transparent elections. And
no, I understand that, but this is the point I am trying to make. There is a possibility of money being used to bribe people, that is corruption or electoral fraud. The second is genuine defection, the possibility of my resentment towards your decision.
No.
So,
people can have disagreement.
So how will you club the two together? At this moment, the concern is that is being sifted out is about defection, not corruption.
Okay. The defection part, I'm telling you, people can have reservations, or our own colleagues can have reservations, does not mean that they're determined to defect.
Okay.
And I haven't seen even,
do you think that Attorney General was right in advising the Prime Minister and the President in framing this reference and sending it to Supreme Court? Because there is Law Minister also,
right.
He was not quite visible during these days, right?
Okay.
The Attorney General took you in one direction, and I don't think that your actual concern has been actually addressed, has it?
I think our whole purpose as a party was to create an awareness and bring it into the notice of the Supreme Court of Pakistan, that if any kind of a fraudulent activity takes place, then that should be taken notice of, and if it is punishable by law, then there should be some sort of, reprimand, right.
You need to then amend PPC and CRPC, because you have to create a special category of offense so that people can be punished.
True.
You haven't done it. B, you'll have to amend Article 226 to make sure that it is transparent, or somehow you can make it an open ballot. 3, that despite all these things that you haven't done, even then you are not actually identifying a mechanism to spot corruption.
Well, that is the duty of the Election Commission of
They are not
Pakistan.
lawmakers.
They are not lawmakers, but they are definitely bound to hold fair elections.
So the gentleman who sent you in this direction, you could have scored this point without going to the Supreme Court, right?
Right.
The gentleman who sent you in this direction, and you got a response in which the actual essence of your prayer is not addressed. Should that person be taking responsibility? I'm talking about Attorney General.
I don't think it's that grave or a serious of a situation.
I'm coming.
I understand what you're trying to say. That
no, I'm not trying to say something. I'm saying
this
is a big question.
It is a big question that the plea or the.
Do you think that the Prime Minister was given the correct kind of advice?
I think he was given the correct kind of advice, but the material of the reference or the prayer might people can have difference of opinion
People or
on
you,
that.
sir? People or you?
Not me. I mean, I'm all out for what he did was the right thing to, make it clear to the people of Pakistan. We have a clear majority, and it's some kind of in the name of defection or corruption. Whichever way, it will simply again exposes those parties who are beneficiary of this defected or corrupted vote.
Here's a concern that if the job of an elected MNA or MPA is to act as a post office just to convey the wishes of the party leader, then why even give a vote? Just make it a proportional representation system where easily somebody gets elected, right? But let me, I will come to you, sir. This to and fro will go on, but let me go to Ahmed Hussain Saab. Ahmed Saab, now you can talk about everything that has been discussed, but let me, because you are the only analyst I've got, let me ask you what happens now, because we know in Islamabad there are two concerns. One, Yusuf Raza Gidlani, whose allies sit in opposition and they don't have the number, seems to be very confident that he's going to get elected. Secondly, people are saying because in Islamabad election seat, you don't have any say of the provincial assemblies, and it is only Islamabad assembly, the National Assembly. If he gets elected, then by default, the government would have lost its majority, although it is not an automatic case. Do you think there is any possibility of Yusuf Raza Gidlani getting elected?
Well, I think the situation is becoming obvious to my understanding. He can be elected because there are two reasons behind that. One is most of the PTI elected representatives who are now sidelines because of these special assistants and technocrats, and these feelings in there, and there are reports also that after Senate elections, Prime Minister may do another reshuffling of the.
But you are sitting next to an elected representative, and he doesn't agree with you. Do you agree with him, sir?
No, sir. I don't.
I think I read the mood. I read the political mood, and I see.
Not in this room.
Well, I think I also, because the problem is that because you see that there is the idea of as far as corruption is concerned, it's a governance issue. It's not a legal issue. So for governance, the government's responsibility is to undertake reforms in the institutional broadening and bringing.
Yeah, but let us not move away from the discussion.
Absolutely.
Come back to the election.
The election one, I think the way Zardari has been, the Pakistan People's Party has been doing a lot of homework behind the screen. And
that's an amazing argument. We have been actually relying on that. And then we heard a statement coming from Asif Ali Zardari that even he, it was a surprise that Yusuf Raza Gidlani's name emerged for Islamabad. He didn't know it.
Well, I think that's there's the question, because Asif Ali Zardari and his People's Party and the PDM, in a way, they were all agreed to have someone who can hold some power, and because there was something going on behind the screen. The going on was that there were disgruntled MNAs, disgruntled people within PTIs, and we have seen in PTI.
They had to expel one minister. They actually removed one minister from Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, and you know that he is brother of the federal minister.
Absolutely. But here again, because you know, there is, when you do the electoral politics, there is a public mood always. What kind of optics and visibility that we can see right now is the fact that people in general, there is, because MNA have to go back to their constituencies, and there's some pressure coming because of inflation, many other things. We don't want to go into that. But the fact is that there is some crisis going on within PTI, and that has been capitalized by Pakistan People's Party. And
so, how do you read the statements coming from PDM that they might not need their long march if Yusuf Raza Gidlani gets
absolutely, because there are 2-3 plans. This is the plan C. According to plan
C. Not the last one.
No, not the last one. This is a C plan. The first was, of course, the long march, then resignations. Now they are saying that we will move no confidence motion after the Senate elections, and for that we will have sizable majority coming in the upper house. So that is their right now their political proposition that is coming out. But I think that is the People's Party's balance is the balance is tilting towards the approach that People Party took in the
parliamentary
PDM alliance to go through the parliamentary.
Yeah, but that is a big question. Let me go back to Barrister Saab. Barrister Saab, you understand not only Sindh's politics, but you understand People's Party's mood as well. Although GDA is no more associate or ally of People's Party, but there was a time when your family and many others were part of People's Party. Sir, do you think that we are heading towards a surprise in this in the federal Senate election? Barrister Saab, can you hear me? Okay, there seems to be some communication lag or problem. Let me go to Arif Chaudhry Saab. Arif Chaudhry Saab, in coming days, tell us what happens if Yusuf Raza Gitlani wins. One understanding is that the federal finance minister who is contesting against him will no more be a minister. He'll have to come back to the advisory role. But apart from that, what might be the legal ramifications of such a surprise?
The surprise could bring the majority into minority, because otherwise, if people don't defect, there is no possibility that the number game is giving almost 20 almost 16 to 20 members majority this government has, or coalition government has. So if he wins in the Islamabad, Yusuf Raza Gilani, so in a way it is a tumultuous situation, and it's going to be a big crisis, because I don't believe that any such game should be played, because it is also to dethrone, to take on the government and to remove the government in an unconstitutional way, but under the cover of the constitutional mechanism that somebody is going to take on the Senate, and then the people who under the garb of this election, they defect and then they get majority and then they remove the government. But I think all other options they have exhausted. So now this is the final option, I think, because after that, even if they fail, there is not going to be any long march, because that's the final. Yeah.
Right, sir. Now looking at the bylaws and the election laws, what do you think if the election commission comes up with some kind of scientific use of technology to document who has voted for whom? What will be the way to check who has defected and who has not? And there is a second part to this question. Whether the presidential reference was about corruption in politics, in the electoral process, or it was merely about defection clause?
I think it was for both, to check both, but moreover, it had its cosmetic value, because from the very outset, they knew that they are not going to win anywhere, because as far as Supreme Court is concerned, a person like myself, you must remember that, every program, whenever I appeared, and even other programs, Supreme Court is not going to declare or give an opinion that, you can have open elections. They have to.
Right. This is the point you made in this program as well.
They knew they are not going to make it in the parliament, because the parliament is bent upon to topple the government, so they are not going to agree on whatever the sanest thing they might bring. So all those options, going to Supreme Court and going to Parliament and then bringing an ordinance, this was all to show that we did our best to ensure that the election should be transparent, fair, and there should be no corruption. But despite this fact, we couldn't hold this. We couldn't, make it, So now it is the responsibility of the other party, the opposition. Actually, opposition has some hope now, they have some gain, otherwise, Zardari, when he says, that, we don't have the majority in the House, how could they expect that having not the majority in the House, you can, get a seat of Yusuf Raza Gilani and you can have majority number.
Regarding the process,
they are banking upon this,
regarding the process, today, Election Commission decides that it is going to somehow document who is voting for whom. They know it, but the government or parties don't. So, if there is a defection, how do you approach the high, Election Commission of Pakistan, and how do you learn who has defected?
If you make a complaint to Election Commission that I want to see the election, that's what Supreme Court has advised in a way, that you should have some mechanism where a vote should be identifiable. So if any leader has objection that and he is suspicion about any member that he has not voted according to party line, so he can make a complaint, and on his complaint the vote should be seen, opened, and should be checked, and then it is not by seeing that he has voted against his wishes, no defection clause comes. But if they could prove through preponderance of evidence that the guy has received money, bribe to vote for them, they could charge him for so many offences.
But that you'll have to create another law, and that becomes a problem. I'm told that
the law already exists. Even this, Article 61, 62, because the guy who has purchased his vote, he is not honest, Sadiq and Amin. So that is also
disqualification, right? But there must be some penal, code application as well. If I have sold my vote, should I not go to the prison?
For corrupt practices, you could be deseated.
But I'm told that we are running out of time. We are left with 2.5 minutes. Ibrahim Khan Sahab, your conclusion?
My conclusion is very loud and clear that we are getting complete vote that we have in our basket, and we are by no means, even by going through this trying to ensure legal process, transparent legal process, does not mean that it shows our weakness. We are very confident and very clear about, we have a clear majority, and the candidate is going to, both of
your candidate is going to win. Well, you said loud and clear. I understand it is very clear, but I hate to be pernickety, but you are a very polite man, so it wasn't loud, so to speak. But let me ask Amir Hussain Sahab, your conclusion.
I think the constitutional supremacy and the parliamentary, sanctity has been established through the Supreme Court ruling, and that is one thing, that is very good thing, and I think every party now, every political party must take advantage of this, and they try to focus on the election unfair and transparent way, and that is how democracy will be evolved in the country.
All right, so and everybody should take advantage. So everybody should go to Election Commission and ask them to open the vote.
Well, I think the only thing that can be taken for the larger good of the country is to establish the fact that there is a parliamentary way, and that is a democracy.
There is a parliamentary way, and that has been highlighted. Arif Chaudhry Sahab, your conclusion, very quickly.
It is this, Election Commission who has to call the shots, and they should not waste the time, and they should come up to the expectations of the Supreme Court of Pakistan and the people of the Pakistan, which is not limited to the parliamentary supremacy.
Right.
And the fair election.
I'm told that we have to conclude the program. Arif Chaudhry Sahab, thank you very much for being part of the program. Amir Hussain Sahab, thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. Ibrahim Khan Sahab, thank you very much. I was told that Barrister Hasnan Ali Mirza, we couldn't connect again, and we couldn't reach out to him. Let me thank him through the screen. Thank you very much for being part of the program as well. Because you have listened to our participants, we have to actually talk about a couple of very important aspects here. One, regardless of what happens, the Honorable Supreme Court of Pakistan has actually identified the actual players in this context. One, the Parliament. If you want to actually bring about any changes in the Constitution, you will have to go through the parliamentary process. Two, that when it comes to the electoral process, all in all is the Election Commission of Pakistan. Having said, identified both these things, we have to actually worry that why is it that the Parliament of Pakistan has been talking about these crimes for quite some time, but why hasn't it actually done anything substantial about creating, identifying it as an offense, creating the punishment, and then also coming up with bylaws that ensure that process is very transparent. The second aspect is that the Honorable Court has asked the Election Commission, but the Election Commission doesn't have its own espionage service. It cannot actually send people out to dig out the facts. So what exactly happens in coming days, where the money was used, the reference and the response don't actually address the issue of corruption. They address the issue of defection. Again, there is a lack of clarity in that context. In the law, why is that there? Shouldn't the lawmakers actually be fixing that problem as well? And that actually sums up how Pakistan's politics has been working for 73 years. Let us hope in coming days we see more reason and more hard work. This was today's program. Thank you very much for watching. Take care.
जिसको सुर से प्यार नहीं वो मोरा की इंसान ही नहीं.
I like to play this robot. Music gives us a peace.
Journeys along with the northern areas of Pakistan never give a feeling of a repeated travel experience. On the way, you may pass many beautiful scenic spots. The Gilgit-Baltistan of Pakistan is the most spectacular and fascinating region, where the world's three famous mountain ranges, the Himalayas, the Karakoram, and the Hindu Kush meet. The landscape in these areas changes almost every kilometer. Here, we're taking you deep into the northern regions of Pakistan, through which the Silk Road once passed, where the Wakhi people have resided through many centuries. A culture rich in history and endangered to go extinct, the Wakhi culture has survived the harshness of the mountains and resisted the influences of being at a crossroads of cultures. Nestled among the world's highest peaks in Gulmit village, in what is called the Roof of the World, Bulbulik Heritage Centre is a platform for local and international musical exchange for the Wakhi youth. The Wakhi people inhabit the northern regions of Pakistan, China, Afghanistan and Tajikistan. Wakhi people have a rich culture, a distinct, beautiful language, and a vibrant musical tradition, and they keep on struggling to preserve their identity.
The first thing I was interested in music was when I looked at my elders of my village, like my grandfathers and the elders. I saw them playing the sitar and the other instruments. So I was attracted towards them. I like to play with the old instruments because it's a part of our culture.
Bustling with educated youth from all fields, the musical schools at the Bulbul Heritage Center in the Gojal region is reviving folk Wakhi music with modern musical elements in an age where pop music takes center stage. Wakhi youth are striving to bring their folk music into the mainstream limelight.
I got my interest in Rubab from my childhood. I saw my elders, my grandfather, how beautifully they are playing this musical instrument, the sitar, the rubab. For that time, I got my interest in rubab, and I like to play this rubab.
Bulbul Heritage Center's objective is to preserve the endangered Wakhi musical heritage and promote it for future generations. To do this, the school is getting to work to record the historical Wakhi music compositions and styles of their elders. The school aims to educate and train the new generations with musical articles such as the sa, re, ga, ma, pa in various musical instruments such as the rabab, sitar, daf, flute, etc.
I learned this instrument, how to play it. From my childhood, I'm very interested in music because music gives us a peace. It gives us everything which we want. And this is a stage for me where I got my mission.
Here is Mr. Ghulam Beg, who is an expert sitar player, who has been playing traditional sitar for 35 years since 1980. He is now serving as a master trainer on sitar in Bulbul Heritage Center, Gulmit, where he is providing training on sitar to the youth of Gojal Valley. He is committed to transfer his knowledge to new learners, having deep love for folk music.
म्यूजिक इंसान के रूह के लिए, इंसान के वजूद के लिए, हर चीज़ के लिए, इंसानियत के लिए, महफिल के लिए, गांव के लिए, हर चीज़ के लिए अगर कोई म्यूजिक कहता है कि मैं जिंदा रहूं, तो म्यूजिक ऐसी चीज़ है कि वो आपको जो ना वो आपको जिंदा रख सकता है, लोगों को खुश कर सकता है, खुश रख सकता है.
Bulbul Heritage Center exchanges its talent and youth with other Wakhi talent and youth in China, Afghanistan, Tajikistan, etc. for cross-border cultural interactions and to establish a global network.
मेरा नाम इस्लाम हबीब और मेरा ताल्लुक़ हुंज़ा से है और मैं 18 इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स प्ले करता हूँ और मेरा मेन जो इंस्ट्रूमेंट ये जिगनी कहते हैं, जिगनी मेरा मेन इंस्ट्रूमेंट है. तो यहाँ पर बुलबुलत में यह है कि एक्चुअली हमारे जो ट्रेडिशनल इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स है तकरीबन ये इवन गिजेट कहते हैं गोजाल में, हमारे ज़ुबान में ब्रुशस की में जिगनी कहते हैं. तकरीबन ये पूरा नायाब हो चुका था और ये जो सितार है हमारे जो पामेरी सितार कहेंगे इसको, वो भी तकरीबन नायाब हो चुका था. लेकिन यहाँ मतलब इन लोगों ने एक अच्छा एक प्लेटफॉर्म बनाया, इन लोगों ने मतलब बहुत ही अच्छा चीज़. तो हम लोग यहाँ पर मैं एक्चुअली स्केल सिखा रहा हूँ एज अ मास्टर ट्रेनर. यहाँ पर स्केल्स वगैरह उसमें मतलब अपने जो फोक म्यूज़िक है उसको मैंने ट्रांसफ़र किया, उससे क्लासिकल टाइप या वेस्टर्न हो उसी में मैं सिखाता हूँ. लेकिन तकरीबन यहाँ के बच्चे स्टूडेंट्स काफ़ी सीख रहे हैं. मतलब
better future lies in the unity and harmony of the people of the world, and it's with this wisdom that the Wahi youth in Gulmit are working to preserve their distinct identity and to fuse their vibrance with the cultures of the rest of the world.